Welcome to Built for This. I'm your host, Brian Briscoe. My podcast features captivating conversations with intriguing people who have found purpose in their lives through their career, family, or life experiences, and just why they were built for this. Through the stories that you will hear, I trust that you will be inspired and encouraged to find just what you were built for. So let's get started. And welcome back to this edition of Built for This, and I'm extremely happy to have joining me on this week's show a longtime friend. We worked back together 9 years ago. She's a best-selling author, a model, a TV host, entrepreneur, podcaster, you name it. I'm happy to have on the show Makaila Nichols. Makaila, thanks so much for doing the show with me.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. You're aging me already out of the gate, man. What's up with that?
Well, I didn't mean to do that, but I will say I know we were talking off air, but congratulations. You're engaged now, so that's great news. Great to hear that.
It's exciting. You know, the world needs more good news. So
yes.
Who doesn't love a good wedding?
We do. And I'm very excited to be able to share with people your story. And so I have a lot of things I want to ask you, but let's just go back to when we started together. And so that would be when your book was coming out. Again, Makaila wrote a book, and you were 18 when the book. 18. Can you remember 18?
Not really.
Okay. So your book was coming out, and the book was sparked. We're going to talk a little bit about that. It was sparked by your own experiences. I mean, Makaila was a model with one of the top modeling agencies in the world at the age of 14, but experienced your own journey of bullying, self-image, peer pressure, all of that, a lot of things that go on just with every teen's life, but maybe manifested even more as a model. So go back to those years, a few years ago, and talk about what, not exactly everything that you went through, but what spawned the idea of, you know what, I want to write a book about this that I can share with other teens?
Great question. I mean, I never thought I was going to be an author, let alone write a book. Like, that was not something in my wheelhouse. Like, yeah, I loved English class in high school, but I never thought I'd write something. But I remember going to like the Barnes and Nobles when people, I don't know if people still do that, but I do. But I walked into the teen section and I was like, there has to be a book about what it's like to be a teenager, how to navigate, how challenging it is, because no one really prepares you. They're like, oh, teenager, like you hear that, but you don't really know what it means and how it feels until you're in it. Mm-hmm. And I was dealing with all these crazy things between bullying and body image and just like mental health and peer pressure and all the things that, we all deal with. And I was like, there has to be a story on something about someone who's gone through something similar. And I couldn't find any. So I decided to write one myself, not because I wanted to, but because I felt like I had to.
Yeah. So your experiences are, and I was working at the book publishing company at the time when your book came out. So I had the wonderful privilege of working with you on that. In the book, it obviously chronicles and journeys so many experiences that you went through as a teen at that time and even younger. So talk a little bit about what you had to go through. I mean, here you were. Well, first you got to tell the story about how you were discovered as a model at the age of 14, just innocently minding your own business.
Yeah, I was at a Macy's with one of my like best friends. We were shopping for like communion dresses or like some confirmation communion. I don't know. It was one or the other. And we were just walking around and this guy was like following us. And I was like, oh my God, like stranger danger. This guy's like a creep. And he came up to me and he's like, hey, like, I'm Keith. I'm a model scout. And
sure you are.
I was like, ew. And he's like, do you want to be a model? And I was like, listen, man, like, go away. Like, I'm not interested. He's like, well, at least take my card and talk to your parents. And so I gave him, I took his card and I went home and showed my dad. And he did some investigating. And my dad ended up reaching out to him first. But he turned out to be legit. So, wasn't a creeper after all. But, a lot of people, I'm sure, do similar things. But this one was legit. And yeah, that really kind of started my modeling journey. I was able to sign with one of the top agencies in the world, Wilhelmina, when I was 14 years old. And it really changed the trajectory of my life.
Well, I know if your dad checked him out, that he had to be okay, knowing your dad.
Yeah. Oh yeah. My dad reminds me of like Liam Neeson and Taken. Like that was
Yeah. So you get the opportunity to go to a casting call, I guess, and show up with a lot of other people. In the end, I think it was 10 of the 12 agencies there were interested in you and giving their calling cards.
You know your stuff. Yeah,
well, I worked on your book with you.
Yeah, you're like, I know this girl.
Sure.
Yeah.
But what did that do? What did that do for you, who might have been already dealing with your own self-image, body image, and self-confidence, but now here you are being thrust into doing things like that. First of all, how much did it help you? I know there was a lot of things that were difficult about it down the road, though.
Yeah, it was when it first happened, I would say it made me feel amazing. It felt like I was finally like wanted and appreciated and like, I'm a little baby giraffe. Like I'm super tall, like I'm 5'11", like I don't blend in a crowd. I was, skinny and awkward and just like, didn't really felt like I didn't feel like I looked like my peers at all, which I didn't. Yeah. And I guess that turned out to be a good thing. But nonetheless, it was, getting those the cards of confirmation. It was like, oh my God, like I belong finally. Like these people want me, they see me, like they want to work with me. And so it like boosted my self-confidence. And then immediately it was like, I was humbled really fast by my peers. They're like, she's not going to make it. She's not going to be a model. She's blah, 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 blah. So it was like, I was always in my head because here I had this great opportunity to sign with one of the top agencies in the world, but also it was like, oh crap, like now the people that didn't like me already don't like me more. Yeah. And then, signing with an agency like that, and they're awesome in so many different ways, but you had to fit a mold. And I was 14 years old, I didn't have the body of a woman, like, I didn't have the curves and all these things. So I was always trying to chase the perfect image, although no one could seem to tell me what the perfect image was, although it was never me. So that really hurt when it came to like body image and, hey, Makaila, we don't care you're 5'11", you have to weigh 118 pounds. And so, I did things in my body that I never should have done to meet these standards that someone set somewhere. And yeah, it was a challenge. It's always kind of been a challenge.
And I will tell our viewers and listeners that, Makaila has gone on and is quite an advocate in the anti-bullying space, worked with a number of foundations and efforts for that way, and still do. But you mentioned that you were asked to do a lot of things to your body to be able to have this model lifestyle, and that your friends even, you felt tremendous peer pressure there and even all kinds of negative comments. So here you are while you're trying to have this unbelievable career opportunity, you're fighting your own friends who are doubting that. How difficult was that for you at that age?
It was really hard. Yeah. I mean, when you're a kid, you think the people that are around you are going to be in your life forever. You're like, oh, this is my best friend, my only friend. We're going to be in the nursing home together. Like, those are the people you think are going to follow you throughout the longevity of your life. And, people serve a purpose in your life, whether it be a friend, a mentor, or someone who's just like, you know what, this person sucks and this person should not be in my life. And I found a lot of those pretty fast. Mm-hmm. They always say sometimes the people closest to you can hurt you the most. And being a teenager and jealousy, and honestly, just being a woman, I think makes it incredibly hard, especially, girls are jealous. Like, we are emotional creatures. And I think these kids saw these opportunities and they're like, wow, I don't have that. Like, I should be mean to her because it'll make me cooler. And unfortunately, I lost a lot of friends that way just out of jealousy. And it's like, people try to talk to me now and they're like, oh, hey, Makaila, like, how are things going? And I'm like, haha, bye. Like, people don't remember how they treat you and they think everything's fine and dandy. And I'm like, actually, like, you were awful to me. And people don't forget those things, but they will, which is the ironic part.
And I'm going to circle back to that, but you mentioned something about how difficult, and maybe it was even more difficult because you were female. But do you sense now at this where you are now, a number of years past that, but still carrying the banner and still having a voice for what you want to get across to other teams, but now maybe even also for women. Do you feel yourself that you want to take on this role because you've always had these very strong leadership type qualities to yourself? Do you see that as a platform for you now?
I do. I mean, I mentor a lot of young women. I do some stuff with the Miss America system and I get to work with some girls who are younger. And again, I never thought I'd get involved with like pageants or
Yeah.
anything. I never did pageants growing up. That wasn't me. But I think there's something to be said about, influencing a woman in a positive way, because we all go on our phones and we see these absolutely horrific role models, and I loosely put air quotes on that because they're not role models. It's just society has changed so much about, what a role model is, and it's about followers and likes and fake, and everything is just fake.
Mm-hmm.
And so I try to be a real role model and be like, hey, you might not like what I have to say, but like, I'm going to give it to you straight. And so I work with a lot of girls and I tell them straight up, like, hey, like that was stupid, or hey, you're making a mistake, or hey, stop caring so much what people think. And so, through those relationships, it's helped me a lot. Again, I never thought it would be something I would be doing, but it seems to be my calling and it seems to keep popping up in my life.
When you were in those 14, 15, 16-year-old time frame and trying to go down the model route, you mentioned a couple of things that you said you did things to your body. I think people, obviously, if they read your book, which, by the way, is called Blatantly Honest, Normal Teen, Abnormal Life. You can find it anywhere you find your books that you like to read. When you were writing that book and you had to share some specific examples of things that you had gone through, can you share with some of those with us and maybe how difficult that was to even relive them?
Yeah, I mean, as time, they say time heals all wounds. So like talking about these things doesn't affect me at all. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, that version of Kayla, I don't know her anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I remember, like, I think one of the stories I tell in the book is like, I was at a photo shoot and they brought donuts. And I remember I was like so hungry and I wanted to eat a donut. And I just remember like, throwing up because I had to do like a weigh-in after. And it was like all the things that a kid shouldn't have to deal with, I was dealing with.
Right.
Having a lady stand behind you and look over your shoulder at your weight and be like, hey, you need to weigh less. Like, I don't care how you do it. So, I would throw out my lunch that my mom would pack for me. And she would write cute little notes and I would just throw it in the trash every day. I mean, I was straight up starving my body, trying to chase this weight that, I mean, some people that are 5'11" can weigh 118 pounds, no problem. But like, I was an athlete, like I have a lot of muscle, like I have a bigger frame, like I'm more broad. And so it just, no matter what I did, it wasn't good enough. And I mean, I remember I got sick, like I was literally in the hospital because I had been starving myself and like totally screwing up my body, doing yo-yo diets and all these things. If you type in like how to lose weight fast, and then it's like drink lemon water, like just crazy things that a person should never do. I was doing to my body and I was hiding it from the people that love me the most.
Yeah. What helped get you through that the most, through those difficult times? And I know it took a number of years to, like you said, you can talk about it much more easier now, but what helped you get through those kind of difficult parts, even when you had friends who were kind of turning on you, if you will?
Yeah, I felt very much alone.
Yeah.
I'm an only child. I didn't have siblings to confide in, but I got really close. Like there was a few of my teachers that I was like friends with. So they were really there for me. Only actually scratch that. One teacher in particular I can think of was there for me through that. And my parents, my parents have always been like my two favorite people on the planet. Like I love them with all that I am. They're the only people that truly helped me through this time. Because the people I was relying on, like my quote friends, weren't really my friends. And so I realized that the only people I really had was my mom, my dad, and this one teacher that I would literally like eat in her classroom. So,
well, you decide to write a book at 18. Like you said, you never intended to do that, but you do write a book and address so many things in there that are applicable to teens today and probably will be forever. Things that we'd already talked about, body image and self-respect and bullying and just all of those kind of things. What message, and you travel a lot and speak to groups and do kind of things. We're going to talk about your foundation in a moment. But what message do you try to give to young teens, middle school and high school, and they're obviously facing the same things you did? What's your message to them?
I would say my message is comparison is the thief of joy. It's really changed a lot throughout the years, but I would say comparison is the thief of joy because especially with social media, all of these kids are on social media.
Mm-hmm.
They think they need to, look like all the little TikTok girls doing the dances and the guys need to be like super jacked. And it's like, do all these kids fall into this peer pressure and they're all losing sight of who they are. So I always encourage kids to stay true to themselves and to not compare themselves to others because they're not supposed to be like someone else. They're supposed to be how they are. But unfortunately, I think social media has really taken a lot of that away. It's taken our individualism away and it's made us all, men, women, we're all starting to look the same because people are following the trends. That's all I'll say on that. But yeah.
Okay, the Blatantly Honest Foundation. You start that. You write the book and you start that. What was your intentions, or what are your intentions still, with the foundation, and what you would hope that people might get from that and your things you'd like to accomplish with it?
So the foundation, again, one of those things I never thought I would start or do. I went to college. I never thought I was going to go to college, but I went to college and I studied advertising. And literally upon graduating, I was like, oh, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to start a foundation. That seems like a great idea. You go to school for 4 years to then start a nonprofit and lose money. So why would I do that? I don't know. But, I wanted to make my brand and my identity be something that it was like, hey, this girl has resources for everyone. I mean, I developed a line of children's coloring books, just something fun because coloring is therapeutic. It's a form of therapy. So we can have, little bits of messages, so much so that children can read the book. It's for K to 5, so K through 5th grade. And they can color and learn about body image and bullying. And unfortunately, these subjects are creeping into elementary school and sometimes even younger. So these conversations need to be happening earlier. And through the foundation, we also do a lot of I do public speaking. So I can travel, pretty much anywhere, talk to kids about my own story and really custom tailor presentations, whether it be about bullying, social media, peer pressure, suicide prevention, all these different things. And really just let kids know they're not alone. I think there's not enough of that. So I try to be helpful in that regard. I also built out a podcast series called Blatantly Honest with Makaila Nichols.
Yes.
I always hate that part because I'm Makaila. So it's like, why say it? But anyway, I interview, different celebrities and experts and just people who want to share their story about what they've gone through and how they were able to overcome adversity and really just be a positive role model. Everyone I have on the show has a great story and are people that others should look up to.
I know it seems like, the subject of dating, teen dating, is getting pushed earlier and earlier in a teen's life. And I know that you certainly went through some situations and relationships of your own. What do you try to tell young teens who are advancing into that area of, well, I think I'm going to start dating, and they may be maybe very immature to that, and who know what to expect or know what to be on guard for?
Yeah, again, I think social media is making kids feel like they need to, between shows like Love Island and all these things, they're learning mature themes earlier and earlier. And obviously a child's a child. And they're mimicking what they see, which can cause a lot of problems in more ways than one. But, I think love is a beautiful thing. I thought, when I was 14, the guy I was with, I was going to be with him forever, those types of things, And I think it's a beautiful thing to fall in love. And I think it's awesome to have your first love. But to just understand that, it's probably not going to be forever. Again, the kid I talk about in my book, like Evan, like he was, one of my best childhood friends. Like he was there with me through everything.
Hmm.
And we graduated from college and I was like, listen, like you're awesome, but I need to go my own way. And I think these kids again attach themselves to, oh, like this is my person. Oh, I'm going to be with them forever. Oh, you know, I'm going to give this person my all and they're going to stay with me and respect me. And it's like things are just going out the window nowadays. So if people want to date and they're young, go for it, but set boundaries for yourself because there's certain boundaries you can't uncross. And, just because you see something on TV or because it seems to be trending, like you don't need to fall into that. Don't fall into that peer pressure just because it seems to be what's in.
You obviously, Makaila, went through so much at such an early age, thrust out there kind of in a professional career, but then facing all of these many challenges that you talk about in your book that other teens face, and here you are trying to be a model and other things as well. Was there a point beyond that, up to wherever you are now? Was there a point where you finally thought to yourself that, hey, I feel strength now. I have self-confidence now. I'm myself. I'm Makaila Nichols. I mean, you were very headstrong even when I met you at 18. But was there ever a point has there come a point that you realized that you've kind of passed through some of these very difficult times and now making your own journey?
Yeah, I think there's definitely been a lot of times where I would like beat myself up or be like, hey, what are you doing? None of it matters. Like I would get in really I was in a dark place for a while when I was like writing the book. I mean, I dealt with a lot of trauma in a short little period and definitely has like followed me, through life. And I think it goes to show, I mean, like right now, like I'll be out and whether I be doing the TV show or I'm giving a speech, it's like people always think that, oh, she's perfect. Oh, she doesn't struggle with anxiety or oh, she doesn't struggle with this. It's like I have embraced the things that make me who I am. It's like, hey, you know what? I'm feeling super anxious today. Or hey, I've accepted the things about me that used to make me feel so small. And I'm like, this is who I am and this is how I'm meant to be. And I think just many years it took me to get to the point where I'm like, you know what? Like, you're okay how you are. Like, you're awkward, Makaila. Just like accept it. And I think just like from doing the TV shows and modeling, and people want to see me for me. And, there are days where I get in my head or I'm like, oh, I wish I could change this about myself, or oh, I wish I could do this. And I think some people see the persona of me and would expect me to be like, oh, I'm so confident in who I am. But I think all of us struggle. And I think that's super valid to say. So I don't always like walk around like, oh, I'm Makaila and I'm, hot crap. Like I got my act together because I don't. And I think being honest and owning that and being like, hey, you know what, today sucks. Or, I'm in a bad mood. Like I try to embrace how I am and realize and give myself the grace to be me because I wasn't me for so long.
That ties in so well to the title of your book, Blatantly Honest. And is that really what has, or how have you changed, or how has your journey strengthened you to be where you are right now? I mean, you're a vibrant young lady with a career and a life that is much different, but you still obviously, you just mentioned, have the same challenges day to day. May not be as many, but how has the journey changed you and strengthened you along the way?
I think it's made me so resilient to so many different obstacles. I think it's really given me such an incredible experience to be able to connect with people who are struggling. And I hate to see people struggle, but it's a beautiful thing that God has given to me to go through these tough battles and be able to help someone because of it. Because, a lot of these kids don't have someone to confide in. And I feel like I get to be that person and really just kind of be a light in their life. And I think that's like one of the biggest honors of my life, to have gone through all these really awful things that I wouldn't wish on someone else. But I went through it for a reason. And every day, with whatever actions I take and whatever I do and whatever I say, I put a lot more thought behind it, because people look up to me, and I don't take that lightly. And I think that who I am today, I would not be had I not gone through those things.
You've worked with a lot of young teens, Rebel Athletics gear with some young girls through your foundation, the No Bull awareness about anti-bullying, and you speak to a lot of schools. I know. What are the young, not just young girls, but boys too? What are they saying to you that they face, or are you surprised by anything they say to you, or is it all just sound familiar to what you have gone through yourself?
It sounds familiar, but also worse. Again, I think social media and technology has really made things easier for bad people, whether it be bullies online or, comparing themselves to others. Just again, mature content, all these things that these kids have so much to deal with. I mean, there's the pressure to be perfect. And now with like all this AI stuff, it's like I feel like everyone is just becoming a robot, and like they're becoming a shell. And I think people are afraid to be who they are because they're so worried that they won't fit in, or they won't get likes, or they won't be followed, or like all these things that shouldn't matter is kind of setting the tone for what these teenagers are feeling. Especially like the younger kids. I mean, they're talking about being confused in their own identity and anxiety and just, not knowing if they like boys or girls, like because all these messages are being pumped into their head, and it's disgusting. It's like these kids cannot be kids anymore because of the society that we as adults have created for these children. So it's rough to see, but again, I can only say so much to these kids, but what I say is just like embrace who you are, whoever that is. If you don't know, okay, cool. Like try to figure it out. I think at the end of the day, people just need to be heard, and they need to be told that it's okay to be themselves, because society is telling people and these kids that it's not okay to be who you are. And people are confused because of it.
When you shared a lot of your stories of your modeling career, and again, like you said at the start, you were with some of the top agencies in the world. How did you feel, or how difficult was it? I mean, here you were, young and teenager, as we mentioned, 5'10", 5'11", but then being told by people, friends, are like, well, you're not going to make it. You're too tall. You're too skinny. You're not skinny enough. You need to do this. You need to do that. That's a lot to take in as a 14, 15, 16-year-old. How did you feel about when you were criticized like that?
I mean, I'd be lying if I said like it didn't follow me into adulthood. I think a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, she's so pretty, or oh my gosh, she's tall and skinny. But it's like what I went through younger, like I still struggle to like look in the mirror and like look at myself. I think especially with an eating disorder, I don't think you're ever fully cured of that. I think you're always in the back of your head, like beating yourself up. I've tried to get better about it. Like I'm happily enjoying my adulthood. Like I love a good glass of wine. I love eating tacos. Like I love chips and dip, like things I never in a million years would have allowed myself to do in that headspace. And now I try to enjoy myself, but even sometimes I'll catch myself like, oh, you shouldn't have eaten that, Makaila, or something. It's crazy because I'm not even doing that type of work anymore, but it follows you. And I think especially with, again, we could really get into it, Brian, but like,
yes, we can.
Ozempic and all these things, it's like, where was that when I was modeling? Like all these things, it's like, it's all just crazy to me, honestly. Like it is a crazy world, and I think we all struggle with our sense of self and our bodies. And now with all these like weight loss drugs that are so easily accessible, it's just like we are making people have eating disorders again, because I feel like now everyone and their brother is super tiny. Now I have to be tiny too. And then God knows what these things are going to do to our bodies, just like what I did to my body. It's crazy.
You're getting an opportunity to be a storyteller, which you are. In your television work right now. Talk a little bit about how that came about, and then, you're being able to share other people's stories, and some are very heartwarming and some are very heart-wrenching. But what's it like to be a storyteller now in the television work you're doing?
It's really fun. So the man I will be marrying, Justin, so crazy to say. So we own a media company together in Florida, and we produce and host 3 television shows. So one is called Behind the Law, which is like attorney jargon. I'm on that one to be the voice of the people.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a show called You Have Real Estate, which really appeals to the real estate market. And then Best of Central Florida, which is we've worked with over 300 businesses here in Central Florida, including like some of the big dogs like Universal, Virgin Voyages, SeaWorld. But really, we do the show to give local people the legs to be on TV, to really kind of share their purpose, their heart, their reasons as to why, they started a business or a nonprofit or something similar. And we just talk to them and we kind of learn their purpose and their story. And I love that. I mean, I love storytelling. I love learning about people's passions and their purpose and all those sorts of things. So it's really been cool. And who doesn't love to be, a host or be on TV? And so I get to combine the art and love of storytelling with producing and directing, and just it's a really cool thing.
Has it helped you in all the things that you went through? You talked about, anxiety or whatever you might go through that's carried on into adulthood. How is this type of work where you're telling other people's stories or trying to maybe lift them up, is it also somewhat cathartic for you?
It is. I mean, when people come on set for the TV shows, I'm sure you can imagine they're pretty nervous.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh my God, like, you're so calming. You're so, like, you've reassured me, you've blah, 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 blah. So, like, things like that are awesome. And then, as far as, like, the podcasts and stuff, like, that stuff gets pretty dark.
Yeah.
But I think allowing people to share their truth and share their story is therapeutic for them. So I like to be able to give them that platform to do so. So it's a really rewarding thing to see, whether it be, on Zoom like this, or whether it be, in person at the television station, because people need to feel seen, heard, and not scared.
What do you tell parents so much who are dealing with the same kind of things that you went through, bullying, self-image, when they're seeing their kids or their teens go through that? I know you speak a lot straight to the young teens, but what's some edges about parents two parents that can be encouraging to them?
I think some parents need to parent harder than other parents, and I'll say that because I think children are a reflection of their children. Mm-hmm. Or of their parents.
Yeah.
Children are a reflection of their parents. And I think that a lot of parents, are afraid to discipline and all these things, but it's like, sometimes you need to do that. Like, if your kid's bullying other kids, like, you can't just be like, oh, Johnny, like, it's okay. Like, you have to, like, look in the mirror and take accountability, because these behaviors start at home. And just being able to be a friend and be a parent are like 2 different things. I mean, now I would say I'm friends with my parent, but when your child is young, I think it's super important to set those boundaries. I mean, you want your child to be able to come to you and feel comfortable and confident to share what they're feeling, mm-hmm. but also, you have to be a parent at the end of the day. And I think just creating a safe place where we can grow and learn together, and, I can try to teach you some things is super relevant. I mean, like, recently I've become like a bonus mom, and it's different. That's a whole other story in itself, but yeah. It's how do you raise these kids right, and how do you teach them right from wrong without overdoing it, yeah. but also like not underdoing it or not doing it enough. So I think parents just have to kind of tiptoe that line and be a role model and be a parent, but not just be a friend and someone who, they can walk all over.
And you've got to talk about your parents. They have been the biggest advocate, supporter of you. I mean, as far as as long back as I go in our association, but the importance of your parents' support through all the difficult times you had, and to see your career where you are and your life advancing as it is.
My parents are, like I said earlier, I mean, they're my best friends. They're my everything, my rocks, my best friend. Like, I call my parents at least 8 times a day, like each. So like they're like, what do you want now, Makaila? We're going to bed. Like, don't call anymore. I truly would not be here without my parents. Like and I know a lot of kids don't have that relationship, so I'm blessed to be able to have that with my parents. But, they have given me every single, one up if it was something I needed, or if I needed someone to take me to a photo shoot. I mean, I remember my dad would drive down to Miami with me, and my mom would walk around in New York when I went to castings. Like, they truly have been my rocks and the people that I can talk to about anything. So, they're my free therapists.
From them, Makaila, and your journey, your life journey. You mentioned just a minute ago that you're kind of a bonus mom in your relationship there. So what have you learned, or what did you learn, or have you learned, I guess, through all the difficult times that you went through as a teen, that now and from your parents in a supporting role that you can apply to yourself, in that role of a bonus mom, that you say, well, okay, I understand things that may come ahead and I'll know how to handle those.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to be able to be a
Hey, a
role
visitor.
model. There's my dog.
Sure.
To be able to be a role model in the regard of like being a bonus mom,
Yeah.
because she looks up to me, and she has a mom and obviously she has a dad, and it's like where I get to be kind of like the big sister, or offer like the advice. I'm like, hey, you know what, like, what that kid say to you, or what it's an interesting thing, because I get to play a role unlike any other, because I get to like really just kind of hear them. And it's almost like a kid I'm talking to, like at school. It's a different kind of relationship, and it's awesome. And I'm learning to navigate it. It's not always easy. Being a mom is definitely not an easy thing, let alone like, I don't know how I'm going to do it one day, but I know this experience has been life-changing, the sense of I am really warming up to it. So it's like a trial run as being a mom, which is awesome. I'm like, hey, do this, don't do this, bring snacks, do that, like,
Sure.
and just let them be a kid, is the most, and the magic and innocence of a child is a beautiful thing.
You mentioned the word role model, and that you see yourself as a role model to a lot of young girls, young teens, boys as well. Could you have ever imagined that you would be in a position in your life that you would see yourself as a role model? And how do you take that as far as how you want to express that to young kids that you visit? I mean, you obviously take that role very seriously.
Yeah, like I said, I never thought I would be a role model. Like, I was the dork, I was the awkward kid. I never thought anyone would hear me. Like, I feel like, oh, people would see me, but they would never hear me. And so for kids to be able to hear me, and more importantly, listen, I think that's the most incredible thing. And just knowing, from messages I receive from kids, like, oh, you saved my life, or, oh, you made me, realize it's okay to be who I am. I mean, those aren't things I take lightly. And I've worked with a lot of parents who have like lost a child to suicide, and like all these different things. And it has been the most humbling experience in my life, but also like the most rewarding, in the sense of, I feel like I'm doing God's work, in a sense of like what he put me here to do. And it's a blessing. And, yes, it can get dark. And some days I'm like, okay, like, why'd you pick me? Like, why couldn't you have picked someone else to do this? But it's truly awesome to be able to see the impact that sharing your story simply can have on someone's life.
And you mentioned teen suicide, young suicide. That's such a big issue. And I know you have addressed and talked about that in your book, and with kids around there. I wouldn't say that. Are you shocked? But is that something that you hear a lot? Like I think you just mentioned that. Thank you for doing what you do. You saved my life, or you changed me from thinking of doing this kind of thing. How are you hearing that from young kids today?
I mean, I think this topic that suicide has almost been glorified, and it breaks my heart. I mean, there's been shows that seem to glorify it, and like people are like, "Oh, you're my 13th reason." I'm like, are you kidding? Like people say they don't understand the impact that suicide has on a family, you know, the person, the people that love them. It's a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And I think some people are feeling so dark and alone that they feel like that's their only way out. And it's not. You know, I got the opportunity to interview, he's a friend of mine, Kevin Hines. He jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge trying to end his own life. And when we were talking, he said, Makaila, he said, the first thing that went through my head when I jumped is like, I don't want to die. And I think that's something, I mean, it gives me chills just thinking about it. Like people don't want to die. They just feel like that's the only way out. And so when I, you know, get to work with these parents who have lost a child to suicide at such an early age because they were bullied or because, you know, they weren't accepted in their own identity. It's heartbreaking. And, you know, being able to tell someone that they matter and their life matters is so needed. Because a lot of these kids feel so alone and not seen and not heard, and they feel like that's their only way out. So.
Talk a little more about, you mentioned just a minute ago that you really feel like that you're doing God's work, that this is your calling, this is the thing that the message you should be giving to other people. Obviously, no one would want to travel the road you had to travel to get all of these experiences, but discuss a little bit more about what that means to you to be in a position that, yeah, this is what I should be doing with my life in and around everything you have personally going on, but that this is your calling, this is your mantra that you should be sharing with others.
I mean, you hit it like straight on. I mean, I truly, it's once you find your purpose and your calling, you just have to chase it wholeheartedly. And again, like sometimes our purpose and our passion can be the thing that scare us the most. Like I never thought I would be in this line of work, or I don't even know if work is the right word. I don't think it's the right word, but this line of life, we'll say. Like I never thought I'd write a book. I never thought I'd start a nonprofit and be speaking and be working with, you know, kids and their parents and people and all these crazy things. But it's like, you have to embrace every opportunity and who you are and run toward it, even if you're scared. And I think the things that I went through led me to be exactly where I needed to be and geared me for the kind of things that I would be dealing with, and the people I would be dealing with, and the rooms I've been in. You know, I don't think there's any accidents in life. And I think going through things help us find our purpose and our passion. We all have one. You know, some people it takes 5 years to find, some people it takes their whole lifetime. And being able to find mine early on has been awesome. It's been a challenge, but it's definitely been an awesome ride.
How hard was it? We're going to go back now, you know, 8, 9 years ago, 10 years ago. How hard was it to write the book? You said you'd never expected to do it. I know I asked a minute ago about having to relive some of the stories, but was it difficult to go through story by story and have to share them again, or were you kind of buoyed and lifted up by what the end result would be, that once the book is done and kids could start reading it and parents could start reading it, that it would be, you know, basically just an encouragement that you made it through all of these things and they could as well?
I think writing the book was, I mean, I think it was 55,000 words. Like writing a 55,000 word book is not for the faint of heart. No. I know now you probably click a button and have it done, but you know, telling my story and really sitting there and figuring out the words I wanted to say. And people are like, ask me all the time, oh, did you have a ghostwriter? I'm like, no, like I wrote it myself, like crazy to wrap your head around. I know, but I wrote it. And telling your story and getting it out there and picking what I wanted it to say was an incredible process. But like reading it now, like I reread my book for like the first time, like, I don't know, not too long ago. And it's literally like a look inside my brain back then. And man, I changed, like a lot of life has changed, of course. But it's just even like the way I thought and the way I talked, and it's a really cool snapshot of my life. And, I think I was so brave and so strong and honest. And, I think looking back, it hurts me more now reading what I went through, because I almost feel like, and this is going to sound crazy, but like I've disassociated from that part of my life. Maybe, I've like blacked out a lot of it. And so reading it now, I'm like, oh my God, like you dealt with a lot of crap, Makaila. But being able to read it and see, my life is a pretty cool thing. And knowing that it can help other people, the things I went through is pretty awesome.
All right. Well, I'm going to show the book. Let's see if I can show it. Here we go. Here's the cover.
It is.
There you go. That's you back in 18 years old.
Little baby me.
Yeah, blatantly honest, normal teen, abnormal life. You can find it at any place you find a book. A great read, and again, a great story about someone who has overcome so much as a teen, and you explained it all and shared it all with us here today. And Makaila, I just appreciate you being here on the show, and you're a great encouragement to a lot of teens out there. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, thanks very much. Thanks for joining me on this episode of Built for This. Be sure to follow Built for This on your favorite listening platform and share it with a friend. Join me on the next episode when I will share entertaining stories of inspiration, encouragement, and purpose-driven experiences. What are you built for? Built for This is produced and recorded by Heart Media DFW.